Good evening, thank you for coming. I know it's not our usual event time, and that's what some people are. Avengers, you've already had pizza. If you didn't make a pizza, it's good reason to be coming on time. Tonight we have Logan here. He's going to walk you through what DevOps really means. It's a terribly overrated term, but I'm sure he'll cover that. Yeah, do you want to welcome Logan?
Cool. Half of you know who I am, half of you don't know who I am. Probably about a fifth of the people in this room have heard me bitch about stuff before. Side note, before I begin, I tend to swear a lot. If that's going to put you off, you're welcome to leave at any time and I won't take offense. Anyway, so DevOps experience, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the fire. Because stuff is always going wrong. Firstly, who am I? Logan Senjov, you can hit me up there. Twitter, Slack, @Senjov. Fairly easy. I'm not as scary as I look. I swear, you can come ask me questions, it's fine. Disclaimer, my opinions may or may not and probably do not reflect on that of my employer. Right, so a bit of context before I get into the rest of this. My employer, who I'm not putting up there because frankly they probably don't want me representing them when I'm giving talks like this, is a growing company, and I am the first person that they've had to actually look at these problems. So there is a lot of problems which I am slowly fixing over time. So be aware when I say that stuff's dumb and it needs to get fixed, it's getting fixed slowly. Right. So let's do a quick thing about how the hell I actually got here. So after a while away, I decided to go back to uni, 2015. Then end of 2017 hit and Centrelink's like, hey, we're not paying you anymore. I have to go get a job. Put the word out, within a day or two I got myself an interview. Within another week I'd start work. So I started working in a testing role, and frankly, I completely ignored the role that I was supposed to be in and went and did cool stuff. But apparently that impressed enough people, and I got just enough of my usual job done that they were like, cool, we've got a web developer role opening up. Web developer role opens up. Who are you going to put in there? You're not going to put the other testers who have been around a while. No, Logan, you can come up. What? Yeah, okay, whatever. Cool, I'm in. Moved to a web role, started working on the project, and basically was thrown in there, sink or swim, managed to swim somehow, don't know how, and then now I'm maintaining the application partially that I helped write, and now I'm hating myself for it. So, and then eventually I moved into my current role, which at the moment my job title is Senior Operations Architect. It means nothing, ignore it. I can make up names too. So why did I actually get to this role? So first off, there's some particularly weird things going up here. One, I am paranoid as fuck. Something goes wrong, I want to know why it's going wrong. I need to know why it's going wrong before it causes more damage. As you probably know, I'm also very straightforward with what I'm talking about. This curious thing, the curious combination leads me to poke the bear a lot. So something that, especially management, but that's another matter. But if there's something out there and I want to, and I've got an inkling about it, there's something wrong with it, I'll poke it, I'll prod it, I will make it break, and then I'll fix it afterwards. So there's some guiding principles. These are definitely not with my employers. The first one is, don't fuck it up. This is the paranoia part, but still, when you're dealing with my role, I will get to it actually describing my role soon, but you need to have some context. Don't fuck it up because you are the last line. If you screw it up, you take down the whole damn company. And you can do it really easily. Second part, don't make me think. If I have to do the same thing over and over again, I have to think each time I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Third part, if you don't understand it, it's dangerous. Something goes wrong, you need to find out why. If you don't understand why it's going wrong, it's going to break things. Go find out why. Fourth part, happiness is mandatory. Things are going to go wrong, you better be happy about it, you better get in there and deal with it. The final part that got me, I got lucky. Spot opened up and I said, gimme. And apparently me ignoring my other jobs and doing cool stuff meant that I got this role. So, what the hell am I doing? Day-to-day stuff is a bunch of different stuff. So, operations. What the hell is operations? I manage about 100 instances in, I think it's 8 or 9 different AWS accounts because customers have their own accounts. They can pay for their own damn hosting. So I'm managing all of these. I'm overseeing all of these. I'm making sure they don't break, which they still do often, but that's another matter entirely. Then you've got developer operations. I manage developers. I try and make sure that developers work better. This is a lot of stuff to do with continuous integration, a whole heap of technical aspects. The other part of this, though, is your policy management, and policy management sucks. Who's had to do policy management before? Few people in the room, right? For those who don't know, it means writing policy and then going, no one's going to read that, scrap the whole thing again, do it again because it's not working. Lots of policy management, lots of documentation, because that's how you can actually put processes in place that mean that people don't fuck things up. I do some actual management as well. I'm technical lead of a bunch of casuals who do a lot of support, some of which are sitting in this room at the moment. It's a support team, it's getting in, it's fixing stuff up. And the final part is just general internal support. So I am lucky enough to have touched all areas of the business, which means that if someone comes to me with a problem, I've probably touched it before. I've probably heard about it, or I've seen it, or I've done something along those lines before. All right, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty, shall we? All right, so firstly, operations. As I said, 100 plus EC2 instances, varying sizes, distributed environments, all good stuff. Have to make sure these things don't die. So, other part I do is babysitting production deployments. So by babysitting, I mean, come on developer, give me your paperwork, show me that you're not breaking things, show me your tests. Just come on, just show me. And you can't automate this stuff too much because they're going to find a way around it, they're going to get lazy, it's going to break. Don't let it break, don't fuck it up. Monitoring, slowly getting more monitoring in because it's 100 instances. And this leads to some rather large challenges, obviously. Okay, a slight detour on stuff I'm dealing with at the moment, which I still haven't got my head around. Elastic Beanstalk, nice big log stash. Throw everything into it, you can get stuff out. Has a limit of 1 meg per entry that you put in there. Not much of an issue, except that then you start putting audit logs in there. Do you know what audit logs are? Audit logs are an entire encapsulation of your request and response, because you have to make sure you know who's getting what so you can prove it later. Except that the program that a lot of things use for the log stash, or the one we use, FileBeat, just says, cool, let's put these logs up. It hits a 1 meg thing up there and it fails. So what's it do? It retries again. And more things queue up. And it retries again. And more things queue up. And it retries again. Your whole instance dies. Brilliant! I love it. Java. Sorry? Java. Yeah, don't you start. So deployment script maintenance. So the actual current deployment scripts, so originally deployments were done manually. They were log into server, it's a LAMP stack at the moment. So log into server, put your new PHP files and your new JavaScript files in there, then leave. What's this going to do? It's going to make things break when people make mistakes, which they did constantly. So my predecessor, who I took over from, who now we're working on stuff that he likes far more, built a lovely set of deployment scripts. And it's this giant repository of bash scripts which do everything. And it's beautiful. And I have to maintain these things now. But it has saved a hell of a lot of time and it's stopped developers from thinking. This is a good thing. Don't make people think. Infrastructure maintenance and upgrades. Security reasons, obviously you have to update. I have 100 instances. How do you usually update your one at home? You go apt, these are all Linux boxes, so you go apt get update, apt get upgrade, all that good stuff. Do that 100 times. No, you don't do it 100 times, you write a script that does it for you. Because frankly, you're being lazy. And laziness is a good thing. And then I've got other stuff on the thing, which is new environments. So I've got to upgrade everything, because everything's sitting on legacy Ubuntu 14 at the moment. I'm building Ubuntu 18 environments, and then after that I'm building containerized Kubernetes environments. Hopefully we'll see how that turns out. But that's coming along eventually. So that will be good times, good fun, and a big project which is probably not going to make me swear more. Right, then DevOps. This is the part that I misled you all to come here and talk about, because this is the sexy stuff that's not really that sexy. Managing developers, paperwork's mandatory. Just give me your paperwork. I don't care. This checklist exists for a reason. Because every time someone forgets to put a checklist or you forget to check something off, It's gone, yep, it's broken. Why is it broken? You forgot to do this, you forgot to do this. Have you tested your migration scripts? Yes, you've tested them. Are you sure? Yes, I've tested them. Okay, cool, deploy it. It breaks because your migration script was broken. Why? Yes. Anyway, my daily struggle is with people, it's with developers. So developer education is the other part, teaching your developers how to be better. So this is the managing developers part. I've managed to step back a little bit from this lately because now other people start to do this more, but it's still a big thing of this is breaking because of this, we need to understand why, and just getting that going. Security education. Who here has done security courses or is going to be doing security courses? Not many of you. This is so go do some basic security courses. I don't care if it's in your free time, go do it so you don't have me getting angry at you when you put an XSS error in your code. It's a simple error, you should be able to avoid it. Go make sure, please. And also, managing Jenkins. Jenkins is wonderful. Bamboo, that's another matter, I don't touch that. But automating your testing, automate your tests, automate everything you possibly can to make sure stuff works before you push it up to production. Do this as much as you can so that less things fuck up. Also, as a side note, I should have said this earlier, if you have questions at any time, talk to me. Put your hand up and talk to me because frankly I like talking to people. Or I just like talking. Who knows, they haven't decided that yet. Policy management, this is way more work than you probably think. When you start having to look at insurance documentation, then you look at what they actually want and you go, oh, okay, now I have to implement A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Oh God, when does this list stop? Right, do the administration on that part. Now I've got to actually implement all this stuff because this is your policy management. These are the things you need to do for your company so it doesn't fall over. Most of you probably won't need to do this. I'm just lucky, unlucky, however you want to see it, that I touch everything, including the policies. Yeah, you get it right, everything's good because the developers and people in your company read the policies, it's easy to understand, they know what they have to do. I don't get this right yet. I don't have enough time, I don't have a tech writer with me, I suck. So I just spend a lot of time banging my head and hoping that someone reads it and then they don't, and then I have to get cranky at myself because I didn't write it properly. And yeah, developers are lazy. No one wants to read policies. No one ever wants to read policies. Do you like reading policies? If you like reading policies, you're in the wrong business. Or you want to work in government. Either way. Yeah, so management side of things. So I'm technical lead of about 10 casuals. It's support tickets, both external and internal. So we're a software as a service company, which means that we've got support with customers that we now have to support their applications. Yeah, they pay us, cool, pay us, we'll support that. Plus the extra time that we have, we do internal projects, we do internal support for the internal customers who are now there, or for the internal businesses fixing that stuff up. There's actually a lot of stuff that goes into just this and trying to figure out proper processes for how to manage a team of people. And it took us like a week or two of just solid thinking to come up with a good process for just how to manage your support desk. Like you have to manage a support desk with a whole heap of customers. How do you do that and make sure your SLAs are met? It sucks. Again, poor policy management. All right, and then general internal support. One thing to note is whether or not your job makes money directly or it does not. If your job does not make money, you had better be saving a lot of money. And I hope like hell I'm saving enough money to keep myself paid. So, well, put it this way, if you have someone that is blocked for a day, one of your developers gets blocked for a day. Well, that developer may be blocked for a day, but then it also blocks the other 2 people that are with them. So right now you've got $600 lost for the day. You would better be able to get in there, understand what their problem is, and get them going so the company looks good and keeps making money. And this means that you have a lot of days where, yeah, cool, it's hitting 5 o'clock. Logan, I'm okay. 5:30, cool, I'm going, Logan. And then you don't leave till 7:30 because things keep breaking. Lots of greasing the wheels, finding fires before they start. Sniff out that smoke, find where it is. This is something you should do as a developer anyway, but a lot of what I do is going, I can smell the smoke's over there, why is this breaking, why is this going wrong a little bit here? Fix the issue before it becomes a big thing. Because if things are becoming, what's this, the general thing of IT, that if you're doing your job right, they question why they're paying you. If you're doing your job badly, if things are breaking, they're questioning why they're paying you. What are you going to do? And general IT support, just making sure things run smoothly. Right, that is a general, widespread overview of everything I touch. So before I start telling some random stories about the fun times I have, are there any questions about this stuff? No?
You mentioned learn some security. Where are some resources that you
OWASP is one of them. So OWASP is like the big international open source security group. They have a bunch of good resources on just basic security things, like basic security exploits. They're not hard to see if you know what you're looking for. It's just that if you haven't had a bit of education, a bit of training in it, you don't know what to look for, and so things are going to be insecure, things are going to break, and then I'm going to get angry at you. Right. So let's talk about actually some of the cool things. One of the cool things I did. So shirking my responsibility as a tester. Working as a tester for had a web developer. He's going along, I'm doing just enough testing to make sure it's working cool, because in the meantime I'm working on a nice other project, which is automated, context. Appium is so you usually have a phone, and Appium can run tests on the phone. It's pretty cool, it's a nice bit of tech. How the hell do you automate this? So this is touching Jenkins, this is going Jenkins test. Now Jenkins can use any slave that can run Java. A phone cannot run Java. So now what we're having to do is hit some actual endpoints, AWS endpoints, so we can spin up a new specific image, which is called Genymotion. And Genymotion is an Appium it's an Android kernel compiled for x86-64. So it can run on this x86-64 architecture. Spin that up, do an automated thing, which now puts the APK on there, runs all the tests on there, and then shuts everything down gracefully. This was one of the things I did to shirk my responsibilities as a tester, because frankly that bored the crap out of me. So that goes for a while, and then that gets unmaintained because nobody's touching it for a while, but that's slowly spinning back up. But that at the time was actually saving a whole heap of time and effort, because otherwise you need to have a testing device there and you need to manually run the test every time something happens. So this also gets into part of my role, which is just straight like Jenkins and automating that, and slowly turning it from what was a very simplistic step into a actual like full Groovy pipeline. And much as Groovy is a pain in the butt language, it works nicely now because people just go, cool, push to Git, Jenkins grabs it, runs with it, goes nuts, tests everything, comes back, and then yells at the developer for breaking things. Brilliant! It saved me time. What else was there? Oh yes, one other thing. So when I said that I was scary, yeah, I'm a little bit scary. Not really. But, yeah, shut up. People who, when I started off as a web dev, I had myself a new tester. She was completely brand new to the company, to just testing in general, to a full-time job. Things were going very badly for a while, and I didn't know about this because no one was telling me. And then suddenly she has gone around me, gone to my boss and said, hey, these things are going bad, it comes to me. That was an interesting day when I found out that I had put about a week of tech debt in there already by week 5 that no one had chased me up on. Oh, it's good fun. So this leads into part of what I do, is that I actually have to take a concerted effort to at least try and be somewhat personable. Because as much as I can get away with it a lot, I do actually want people to come with me with problems, because if people come to me and say, hey, I've got this problem over here, it means I can stop it before it becomes a big one. And that, honestly, that is mostly what DevOps and operations is about. You stop things going wrong before they actually go wrong. If you want to get into this sort of role, start doing this. You will get noticed. Whether it's for good or bad things is another matter, but start doing it because you will get noticed. Because frankly, most developers are lazy, and yes, work with it. Fix it before it becomes a problem, because then you've got to do more work. And that's just, it's just DevOps in general. What else is there? Oh, monitoring. Oh my God. Okay. Has anyone heard of alert fatigue? A couple of people, not many. So, when you're monitoring something, you want it to alert you of a problem. Do you want it to alert you every single time your program is scanned by automated scanning? Do you know how many times a day that happens? The last time we did a count of that, our machines get automated scanned, I think it was 17, 18 times a day. And you can see it. You can watch the logs as it comes in. And it just goes through every single PHP extension it can find, looks for admin, PHP, myadmin, control, pop, 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 and then goes away. Don't care. This happens so often that if you leave something open, it's going to get hit and you're going to get screwed. Again, don't fuck it up. But, so this leads into another random small issue that we had, where someone, while testing out some stuff, decided to, well, we've got to test out this API over here. They don't have something proper to test on. Cool. Let's open up our computer inside the network to the internet. And then while we do that, we're going to have PHP myadmin completely open. Fortunately, there was nothing of value on this machine, which we got really lucky about. But it was kind of cool to watch as they came in, grabbed the bin files out, took the whole lot out as a binary, all test data, thankfully, and then said, pay us this much money if you want your data back. And then I got really cranky, swore quite a few times, and then said, why did you do that? Oh, it was easy, and then we forgot to close it. Okay, cool. So what happens now? No one's allowed to touch the network unless there's two people saying, yes, this is a good idea. This is part of, actually this comes from general IT support. If you start going this route, it's that certain trust model. How much are you trusted? How much do you trust your developers? How much do you trust everything and everybody around? And the trick is that you don't, because you're paranoid as hell, because when things go wrong, everything breaks. Which of course means that now you have your problem, because if everything has to go through you, well, now you're the bottleneck. So what are you doing then? How much do you trust people? Sorry, you've got me rambling now. Do this. I hope you are entertained.
Slideshow has gone down.
There's nothing past there, it's just me talking for the next 15 minutes or so. Hope you're enjoying yourself. But yes, so alert fatigue. Alert fatigue sucks, and so trying to figure out actual ways around this is a pain in the butt, because, hey, look, now we're worried about too many AWS instances being started. What happens if someone gets in and they start a whole heap of AWS crypto miners? Oh boy, that's going to be expensive. But at the same time, if you're constantly getting alerts every time Jenkins starts an instance, which is about 30 times a day, you're going to get sick of it, you're going to ignore it, and you're just going to say stuff I don't want to see ever again. So now you're filtering out the Jenkins ones, but then suddenly now there's this other system that's booting more stuff. And what happens if Jenkins starts going crazy and they actually manage to get the Jenkins key and start launching a whole heap of instances there? How? I don't understand yet. These things are breaking my head. Because it's not even that. It's like, cool, now you've got to also monitor your daily backups. When did they fail? When did they last fail? Are you looking at your daily confirmation emails to check if something's broken? Probably not, because you get them every day. 9 of them come in a day, and suddenly 8 come in. You're not going to notice that. It sucks. So that's another part of what the hell I'm trying to figure out at the moment, is how do you properly make this go? Try to make this work so that you can actually see the problems. Part of that is probably just going to be throw it all into Elasticsearch and build the right engines around that. Build the right dashboard so you can see, oh, this has gone down today. Why has this gone down today? That's not right. Why has it gone down? I don't know. Get there slowly. This is legitimately a bigger problem than I'm even making it sound, because I've been fighting against this for a while and just trying to, because half of your job is making sure that the logs are there so when things go wrong, you can find out what's going wrong. And at the same time, if you get too much stuff coming at you all the time, you just switch off and you don't want to look at it anymore. So, what are you doing? I don't know. I don't know how this works. I'm still kind of new to this, and I've only been doing this for like almost 6 months, and I'm still going, it's breaking my brain. It's good fun. At the very least, I'm not bored. Don't be bored. Bored is when you start getting in trouble.
You mind if I jump in with another example of alert fatigue there? So it's very common when you first set up continuous integration or Jenkins or something to have an alert every time a build fails. If someone is like pushing build after build after build, trying to fix this one issue, you'll get a ping every single time they do a git push. And then you multiply that by 30 developers. And let's say half of them are fixing their broken stuff. Suddenly the entire channel is just a wall of failed builds. So that's a super common failure you get when you're first setting up alerts for failed builds. And the easy solution there is you alert when it first fails, and then don't alert again. People know it failed. And if they don't and they leave it failed, then something else has gone horribly wrong.
That's when I step in. Okay, so this is part of a big part of what I'm trying to figure out at the present moment is just how to manage this sheer amount of information. And this comes back to your developers, like how do you manage because you've got, let's say you're going to have someone like me who's pushing stuff their way, you're going to have HR pushing stuff their way, you're going to have whoever's managing the web, managing your web developers going to be pushing stuff their way. They're not going to be caring about all this stuff very quickly. Oh, you've got another policy. Go away, don't care. They're not going to read it, they're not going to care, and it sucks. You've got to manage this at a lot of levels. So when I'm saying alert fatigue, this comes down to policy fatigue. This is everything. Don't make people think, give them as little stuff as they need so that they actually can do their job well. If that's training sessions, you can keep people captive for an hour. Yes, they have to listen. You laugh, but that's some ways the only way that you can get this stuff through. And then you do another refresher on it a month later because some people did not listen the whole way through anyway. And so, hell, listen again. You didn't learn the first time. Learn this time. Oh yeah, another one of my things. So, random things going wrong and me being an idiot. Maintaining scripts. So we had the current setup environment. I need to set up a distributed environment. Distributed environment is 2 or 3 zones, each one having memcache and Gluster as a file system, plus your node, plus a controller. A lot of good stuff sitting in there, so that if one zone goes down, the whole place keeps on ticking. No problems, no issues. This is great until you realize that setting up the environments takes about 5 or 6 hours. Which is less than what it used to be, which it used to take about 3 or 4 days. So now we're at about 5-6 hours or so. You can get down to 4 if you're really pushing through it, but it's basically a whole day lost when you're doing it. So I spent a bunch of time like stuff it. I'm just going to spend time. I've already set up one. I'm not doing it again by hand. Cool. Let's start. How are we going to do it? We've got a whole heap of bash scripts here. We have to run these bash scripts in a certain order. We still need to supervise and not just automate the whole thing. Okay, cool. So what are we doing? We're going to run some bash scripts. Let's spit out more bash scripts that run bash scripts. And this is great fun, provided that you're paying attention, because now you have to worry about how many times you're escaping things and which way you're escaping them, because a double quote is very different from a single quote. And so the order that you're putting things in, and when you start putting things in which now read variables inside of that script, which you're now putting in and pushing up. So it's running it. This script spits out this script, which goes and runs this script with asking you for arguments. Great fun. So I was doing that and came across a lovely bit. So at the .5 on every place is the memcache. Or sorry, the .10 is the memcache. Cool. I can write something which gets me the whole set of these. Now let's set up a cluster file system. They set it 15. I've used the same thing over again. Cool. Set it up. Why are they not talking to each other? Why are they not syncing? I don't understand. I am a fish. Do this for about 2 days. And then at the end of the day, it's about 5 o'clock, people are ready to go, and I just go loudly proclaim, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
I remember that day.
Yeah, because they're sitting at .10, or they're sitting at .15, but the original function specifies .10. I lost 2 days on that because I wasn't willing to just stop and step back for a little bit. It's good fun. And the problem is that being one of the only people who can actually do bash wizardry, you can't really talk to many people about this because there's no one in the office that understands what the hell you're doing. Here's a question. How many of you can write a for loop in bash?
It's about a minute though.
A few of you.
I
Yeah.
feel like half of those are lying, and if we tested you, you wouldn't be able to do it correctly.
You're not wrong. I think half of them probably couldn't. Because, and that is probably a good baseline of, if you can do that, then you've at least got some bash knowledge and some bash practice. And most of the people at my job cannot do this. And it's not saying anything bad about them, it's just that most people don't have to touch this stuff. So I'm looking at this stuff just for 2 days and kind of lost it and went home in a huff because I was throwing a tantrum. But it does save you some time. If you're running a Linux environment and you want to get into DevOps, learn your bash scripting, very well. So Chrome, everyone's favorite monopolized browser, comes out with an update that completely breaks all our applications. Just like that. And so the 73 update, I think it was. And we found out about this, oh God, what are we doing? A fix comes for it. Okay, that's nice, but how the hell are we going to update every single application? Because we're talking about distributed environments which might be running 2-3 dozen applications here. Many of them not in active use, but you still have to go and update all these things. Are you going to manually go and update every single one of these? Probably not. But the beautiful thing is that it's a web stack, which means all the files are interpreted living on the server. So you firstly get your list of nodes here. You've got something that can do this for you, and you go, cool, I've got this list. Let's write a bit of bash around this that now I push up this specific fix file to all of them in one go. Done. Cool. Now that's pushed up. Now let's write something which goes into every single one of them, recursively searches for every single folder, it puts this single file in the right place in every single one of these folders in one. I managed to update all the distributed instances in 15 minutes because bash is a beautiful language when you use it correctly. It's a bitch when you don't. So yeah, speaking of things just not working sometimes. So I'm still stuck because I had a deploy fail the other day. Part of what the deployment is taking a bunch of repos, grabbing certain files, putting them in one nice big zip file, and then pushing that off somewhere to get used. And it comes back and says, sorry, I can't do that. Can't copy over this file name where this segment was 1 letter long. I'm still panicking about that because I don't know what the hell happened. This is driving me crazy. And it's happened once, I have not seen it since, and it's like, I don't understand what is going on. Why are you failing here? This makes no sense over here. Why is this 1 letter long? This is the stuff, if you go into operations, you go into this stuff will drive you mental, and if it doesn't drive you mental, you're probably doing it incorrectly, because it means that something is going to break on you. Whether I was insane before or after starting this job, jury's still out for that. I don't think I have too many more actual stories to tell, come to think of it. I think that wasn't the grad story. So with that, I think I'm just going to open it up for questions. And thank you for listening to me ramble for 45 minutes. Any questions? Any statements?
So there's something, when this event was first posted in Slack, someone said something about DevOps, the word being bullshit. And I want your take on what does DevOps mean?
Well, I basically said that DevOps is just managing developers. You have operations, which is managing your logistical side, the back end. You're making sure all of this works nicely. Your DevOps is managing your developers. It's making sure your developers are working nicely. It's speeding them up and doing whatever you can to make sure that they're working nicely and they're not breaking. Because that happens far more likely than you'd like to admit. Anything else?
What colour do you think you are?
What colour? I don't. Because frankly, it could be any colour, depending on which day it is.
Fair enough.
And depending on what's broken recently.
Fair enough.
What did that mean?
Well, what colour you are? Pink. I'm guessing that this is to do with the psychological thing of how do you see yourself? If you're red, you're fiery. If you're this, you're this.
No, it's paranoia.
Oh, right.
Since you put it all
He's
through
on
your
the
slides,
right.
I feel like you have a
He's
view.
friend computer.
He's friend computer.
I have no colour. I'm of that.
Joel, have you considered joining us for paranoia? Not hearing no.
Is there any plus side to being in DevOps? Or
I'm not bored.
This man
This
is taking
is-
the correct moral out of this talk.
Look, I'm not bored. I get bored really easily. I was extremely bored as a tester. I was extremely bored as web dev because doing the same thing over and over again, it drives me mental. If I'm across 5, 6, 7, 8 things at the same time, I'm in a happy place. If things are breaking and there's things on fire and I'm fixing them up, I'm in my happy place. I'm working on things. As I said, there's something wrong here. This is why I'm good at this job. If you don't want to be in this position, I do not blame you, I do not stop you. If you think this sounds fun, because God damn it's fun most times, then come do it. That's your problem, that's your choice proposition. Do you want to be under a high pressure, high fun job? Come do it. You'll enjoy it. If you don't want to be doing that, stay the hell away from you because it's going to drive you mental.
To add to that a little bit, Logan mentioned a lot that you're greasing the wheels for other people. That even though you're not the money maker, but what you do has a huge impact on all of the other developers in your organization, and so it is a really high value, high impact position. And having that high impact is feels nice, makes the work rewarding.
Yeah.
Although it is exactly as painful as it makes it sound.
You finish a project and you go and you can actually look at it and go, I'm now saving 20 devs. I'm saving them all an hour a day. Gigantic savings right there. You're making a massive impact on the business whenever you finish a project. When you get to said projects, because often things are breaking. But at the same time, again, this was the thing I was saying about the blocked factor. If someone's blocked and their whole team's blocked because of it, that's racking up money really quick. You're making the company work better. And that feels really good.
Thanks.
How far has Nameless Workplace come since you've started in this role?
Has its ups and downs. It's mostly been growing. And again, I haven't put them on my slides because, let's face it, I am not someone who usually you want to be representative of an upstanding company. But it keeps ticking along. It keeps getting bigger. I'm actually excited for their new projects coming up because their stuff is done correctly. And that's always nice when that happens. Provided that it keeps on this same route, it's going to be a successful company. If at some point a couple of key people decide to quit, not me, I'm actually happy there, but happiness is mandatory. But so long as some of the key people who work on new projects don't quit, it's going to be a success. It's going to work. It's pretty cool. If things happen to go south, which it can in an instant, then they're going to be in trouble. We'll find out. But it's fun. It's always fun. You had your hand up before, so.
Would you say that this is the kind of role you just fall into, or is it kind of a role that you have a process of going about it? Because you often see these roles kind of promoted in different companies. I'm looking for a DevOps, but then the way you describe it, it's like you really need to understand the company and how it works and the different processes.
It helps. Even if you don't understand the company in the first place, you will understand it very quickly because that's what you need to do. If you go to a larger company, you start working in this sort of role there, you'll have people above you who basically shield you from a lot of it. So they'll give you, at least while you're starting out, they say, right, you're working in this specific bubble over here, this is your job to do for the next bit. So maybe you just are working on Jenkins or your deployment pipeline or something like that, you're kind of shielded. But as you get, again, I'm kind of lucky/unlucky that I touch everything in the business. So my role is kind of a special case that I am legitimately across everything all the time because that helps. If you get to bigger businesses, each different person is across their own part of the business, and hopefully in total, they're not missing anything. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't realize that actually when I think of DevOps, I just thought, I need to know everything.
you know, when you're in a company?
I know it sounds ridiculous, but they got to understand all the different technologies and just, you know,
That's-
what you...
Well, even still, like if you, that's probably more an operational role, because if you go into operations, then you have a very specific domain knowledge of your deployment environment. You understand exactly what happens when the developers give you the code, and you understand exactly how that code gets to your deployment and gets to prod and probably your beta and stuff like that. If you're doing just DevOps, again with a larger company, Rachel was saying she was just working on, like Rachel did talk a couple weeks ago, she's just working on one small part of it. She's working on the time it takes to build the company's project. Like that's all she worked on for a long time. So you get a very specific domain knowledge just around this part. As for actually getting, to this role, this wasn't something I really fell into. I specifically said, I want that role, give me that role. And so if you put your hand up and you're crazy enough to put your hand up and you think you can take it and you can impress the right people, you will get the role. Because frankly, there's very few people that want this sort of job.
I was just going to chip in on that. One of the things that you need to be very clear on is, even though a role may say you need skills in these technologies, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have on that, because when you land in the company, they will have their own procedures, and part of your knowledge, it doesn't matter if you're a brilliant database owner, administrator, until you learn how the company does its specific stuff, that's a huge set of knowledge that you need. And the only way you get that, because they don't distribute this, the only way you get that is by working at it. So nobody's going to come in perfectly prepared to work at another company.
And a lot of places, if you don't even have the requisite skills, they will teach it to you. Because if you can code and you have the general grasp of the concepts, you may not know this specific stack, but you can learn it really quick, and hopefully you can learn it really quick. But that's basically every dev role, everywhere you go. You don't know this random framework over here, but you've worked in something like it, cool. Go in there, learn it, you've got say like 2-3 weeks or so, hopefully you've brushed up on it beforehand. Cares, it's not that that's not the big deal you're after. Any other questions? Yes.
Super vague question, but in like the DevOps sphere, is there a favorite tool that you've worked with that like has just like saved you so many headaches, or it's just like brought happiness to your life?
Bash. This, it sounds crazy and insane, and it probably is a little bit, but when you actually get well-written bash, which sounds like it's impossible, it does actually exist. Document your damn code. But if you actually have well-written bash and you actually design your stuff right, and just to see a large-scale deployment of something which is extremely low overhead, extremely well-written, and just works as you go along with it, it's a good feeling to be working in. As for actual tools, not what I've been playing with recently, I don't know. Sorry?
Grep.
Grep. Oh yeah, grep is love, grep is life. That comes on the bash, so I'm trying not to, yes. Probably just going to say weird. MySQL Workbench, actually. Like it sounds dumb. Look, I have to work with MySQL, don't start with me, okay? But, like, if you've got to work with MySQL Workbench is actually really lovely. It does everything you want, and it saves you a lot of time to getting into it. A lot of the developers use PHP MyAdmin locally because they've just got a local instance they opened up. That's not going to cut it when you're having to deal with remote databases. Find yourself a nice tool. There's probably other nice MySQL programs out there that do the same sort of thing. This is the one I love, and it sounds crap because it's a boring tool, but it saves you so much time when you set it up nicely. Like, cool, pop, pop. Oh, I need to open up something here. Cool. Okay, I'm there. I'm done. Everything works.
We don't really nice. It's for trash place.
Any thoughts on PowerShell?
Keep that away from me. I have no actual problem with PowerShell, apart from the fact that it's a Linux environment and I'm not installing PowerShell on all my Linux instances. If I had to work in a Windows environment, I'd probably be learning PowerShell and abusing the hell out of that there too. Because it's not bad.
Who we can use to get bash on there and do everything for that?
Not if everything was Windows.
No.
If everything was Windows, I'd be using PowerShell because there's a lot of power that you can get on Windows environment with PowerShell.
Basically, just .NET.
Yeah.
Scriptable .NET.
Yeah, but there's a whole heap of extra stuff that it plugs into. If you're on a full Windows deployment environment, you learn PowerShell, you learn the right tools for the job. If you're on a full Linux environment, you learn Bash, you learn Git, you use the right tools for the job. If you're on the full Mac environment, you're on your own. Anyone else?